What's going on, everybody? Welcome to the Juice, man. We're back.
We actually recorded, 2 days ago?
Yep.
I'm not going to post this one till next week.
Yeah.
So this week, what do you want to call it? It's going to confuse our viewers. But, yeah, we just finished one with Daryl Gleason. He came in studio. Appreciate that again. I actually got a lot of good feedback.
Yeah, me too.
I don't know if that's just because we were gone again for a couple of weeks or what. But
Probably. No, it's probably because we had DG in the building.
Yeah, man. He's such a likable dude. He's
such a real and raw, like it's a story that really needs to be told,
No, he's got a great story, and he was willing to come on and talk about, things that are not fun to talk about. Falling out of elite qualification.
The realities, One of the things that kind of stuck with me from that episode I was telling somebody the other day is like, he kind of touched on it a little bit, and we kind of talked about it there for a second, is like, it's almost like, I don't want to say they market this or focus on this, but we talked about this, is like the stories about the guys that risk everything and sleep in their trucks, and then they hit that one tournament, now they make it. It's like, that's not the best story to market, like, or push for these young guys coming up. Like, you don't want to do that.
Yeah, I mean, it's ill-advised for sure. But
like you don't.
No,
I mean, you want to have your ducks in a row now, man.
That's it gives you a better opportunity. You're gonna be able to do it a little bit longer. But I mean, Dakota's one of those people who had that story. You remember that story? He told us he was at Grand Lake, and he said he didn't even have enough gas to get back to the other side of the lake.
Right,
and he cut a check.
Right. Yeah, it's just.
No, I mean, those stories are inspiring, but listen, a guy like Daryl who kind of put himself in a good situation. I didn't realize the screen printing business.
Yeah, that was cool.
I could see him making T-shirts.
He hustled, and that to me, that's the right way. Hustle and put yourself in a position with yourself.
Yeah, he was realistic with his goals.
Yes.
On how to attain his goals, and I do like that approach. Yeah. But it was fun to have him on. I'm sure we'll have him back. He's a good time, and he's got lots of good stories to share. He's been in the industry a long time, and I think he's going to go back to the Opens next year, so he'll have more to share. But we're going to do a guest today. We'll have him on here in a little bit. Yeah. Wyatt fished with him.
Yeah, he fished Invitationals this year. Travis Harriman had kind of like me in a way, had a roller coaster of a year, but he had I'd probably say a better year. He had a second place finish there at Clarksville. Almost came back and beat Dakota that final day. Really good event for him. Won a pretty good chunk of change on the Invitationals this year, and then won an event, Toyota at Ozarks, and won a pretty good chunk of change again. So it was a pretty good year.
That was the one right after the Open?
Yes.
I mean, it was like the following weekend.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And he's a great fisherman, really laid back, kept to himself, and just catches them, and we're also going to preview the Toyota Series Championship with him. I'm going to that.
Are you?
Yeah, leaving this weekend, and he's a local there. I say a local, like he's in that area.
He's an Ozarks region guy.
Yeah, like he's a good guy. I mean, MLF reached out to him for the article to preview it, so it'd be cool to hear his take on it. But got a bunch of changing conditions and stuff, and we'll get into that. But one of the biggest events of the year right there for probably realistically it's probably like the third or fourth biggest tournament in bass fishing in general. Like I'd put it up right behind the Classic. And what the heck?
I don't know what that is.
Are we ghost?
We're ghosted. I think we got audio, but I don't think we have video.
We're ghost, dude.
Should we? Hello.
Gosh dang it,
I think the AC cut off our camera.
Do I need to go do something here?
I mean, are we going to restart?
Or is it going to come back? No, we're not restarting.
Oh.
We're not restarting this?
Go mess with the cords on the thing.
All right, hang on one second, guys.
Wyatt's going to see if we can get this camera to kick back on. And we're back.
Yeah, man, we got it worked out.
Yeah. Cat Ron Studios, appreciate it. Love it.
Gleason reference to how well we were doing.
Yeah. Daryl did say that. He said, you guys are clearly doing super well here. I mean, it's a great setup. I don't know why the AC's glitched before, and it's like pauses the camera like real quickly and comes right back on.
Didn't happen this time.
No, no big deal.
We were black.
No big
Anyways,
deal. We were talking about
Toyota Series Championship. I was just talking about how it's like one of the biggest tournaments out there in bass fishing in general. Probably behind the Classic and Red Crest. Like it pays that much, anyways. Like the winning amount.
Could you argue that it's probably one of the best payouts?
Oh yeah,
or if not the best, because it's no entry fee, correct?
No entry fee.
I mean, you take that alone, which a classic is no entry fee.
Yeah, I know. You get guaranteed payment at the classic.
Yeah, guaranteed payment. But this is, I mean, at the level that it, not the toys,
correct.
But it's not the classic.
Yes.
For
what it is.
For what it is.
It's the best. I mean, you get $10,000 if you're the highest place at finishing your division.
Per your division.
Yeah.
How many divisions are there? And they take 25 from each division? Was there like 6?
4.
Oh, there's more than 4.
I think it's.
We don't even know.
Southwest.
How can we be in Bass Media and we don't even know?
Southerns, Southwesterns,
I'm gonna Google it.
Northerns, and Centrals, bro.
I'm going to look it up. Anyway, we wanted to do something
no,
like...
Western, you're right. I bet you it's 5 or 6.
Yeah. It's definitely more than Opens or...
Yeah, Westerns, Southwest.
Anyway, it's 25 per division. Highest place finisher in each division gets $10,000. And grand prize of $200,000.
Yeah, unless you're in the Phoenix, $235. But yeah, it's a huge win.
Kyle Hall won it last year.
Yes,
on Gunnersville.
Gunnersville, yep. Big win.
Big win for old K Hall.
Big one.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a great opportunity. Great championship event.
Yeah, one of the few tournaments you're fishing for big money, for it to be no entry fee, and all you got to do is fish 3. All of one division, finish in the top 25 in points. And do they call down to fill the field? So if you're
they
like 28th or 29th.
Yeah, you have a chance, but probably not. Most of the guys that make it aren't going to turn it down.
Yeah, so that's the carrot that the Toyota Series kind of hangs. But anyway, I kind of wanted to, Wyatt and I both did, we talked about this. You know, there's so much controversy going on right now in the fishing industry that we wanted to cover something a little more lighthearted, something on the positive side.
Yeah, not to say we won't get into some more of that stuff with Travis and kind of his thoughts. And
yeah, we're definitely going to get his thoughts since he's an invitational guy on what he thinks about the MLF change to BPT. If you want to hear an interesting take, which I thoroughly enjoyed and I thought it was hilarious, Wyatt put me onto this. I listen to Low Budget Live, Luke Duncan's podcast, great podcast.
Yes.
He had Mr. James Worldwide Watson on.
And he went in.
He held nothing.
I mean,
nothing back.
I mean, if we ever have James on the podcast, I just can't even imagine.
Do we have a beat button? Wyatt found a little sound bar thing. We need a.
Yeah, there you go. We need
You have to be trigger happy on that thing though. He was getting after it.
Yes, sir.
But it was he's a BPT angler for those of you who do not know, and has been since its inception.
Yep.
And he was the defender of Floyd and the organization, and now he's kind of like it just keeps getting worse and worse and worse for these guys. You should go give it a listen.
Yeah, he's just fed up. I'm sure he's saying what a lot of those guys feel, but he's just in a position in his career where he can say stuff like that.
Yeah. And we want to dive more into that. We probably will have an episode. We're trying to get a BPT guy on. We want to find the right person to have on, and may have a couple on. But we'll do another episode on that. But we wanted to cover Toyota Series. What else going on in the industry?
The Opens. Well, I mean, are y'all allowed to talk about that? The changes that have came out?
I don't see why not.
Is that public information?
I don't know.
Okay.
It's on their website, I think.
Well, a couple things have changed with the Opens. That, at least from what you sent me, looks like the entry fees are barely going up. But
they went up $200. It's $2,000.
$2,000 a tournament now.
Yeah, but they raised the payout.
Raised it and dropped. Well, yeah, and they dropped it. Instead of paying 40, they paid.
Well, I don't even know that they raised the payout. Actually,
they're paying further down.
They're paying further down, but if you actually look at the payouts, I need to do the math. I should have done that before this episode, but I do want to have an Opens guy on.
Yeah,
who'd be good is Bobby Lane.
Yeah, absolutely.
He'd be good to have on. Talk about he got so close this year.
Yeah.
But anyway, I don't know that the necessarily payout increased, but they are going down to 45 places. I think they carried some of the. I think they robbed from the top a little bit to push down a little bit.
Or is that based on 225? They're paying 45 regardless.
They'll pay 45 regardless.
Okay.
The number will go down.
Yeah, and based on 225, that last place check was 4,000. I think
4,000. When typically it was like 1st through 10th got more than everybody else, and then like 10th on got $3,500.
Yeah.
But we don't have to do a whole payout.
No, we don't.
That was one of the changes. Still got to fish all 9 to qualify for the elites. I'm going to be very curious to how many people sign up. I think Daryl touched on that he thinks there's going to be an increase. We had 173 sign up for all 9. Could be a full field. I mean, especially with this MLF shakeup.
14th through 30th is $5,000, and anything above top 10 is a $10,000 paycheck. So
that's pretty good. Pretty good.
It's not bad.
It's not bad for, the Opens has never been considered the highest payout, but again, it's about the carrots. It's about the classic qualification and elite qualification.
Mm-hmm. Also, they changed your no info rule.
Yeah, so this season was 30-day off. Lake was off limits, but you could get information during the off limits. You could no longer get information once official practice started.
Mm-hmm.
They changed that. They did a 14-day off limits, and that's when the no info starts.
Still 5 days of practice.
Too much, but yeah, 5 days of practice.
Yep. Schedules. Everybody knows the schedule. It's out.
It's a decent schedule. Some good lakes. There's going to be there's some where the stars could align, like Santee Cooper. The stars could align. It could be an absolute smash fest, but it's going to fish small.
So is Okeechobee.
Okeechobee, same thing. But, I mean, there's some good lakes. The travel's a little.
It's hard on the Southern boy. Bad.
Woo. Yeah.
It's rough.
It's rough coming from Texas or Florida. If you're on one of the far ends of the range of where we go. But,
well, yeah, no drastic changes from the Opens, but did have a few changes that we could.
Yeah, nothing major. NPFL schedule came out.
Yes, they came out.
Or most of it came out.
The NPFL schedule came out, but we don't know where the final one's going to be.
That was kind of weird to me.
Yeah, I wonder if they're having like a scheduling conflict or what. I don't know. Because their 5th event is in like October. So that means
their final one was in October the 6th one. Whatever it was. The last one they said to be determined, which is kind of weird. You hype up releasing the schedule. I'm not dogging NPFL.
Right now. They're fishing right now.
Yeah. Day one on Lanier. But they kind of hyped up this whole live roundtable. We're going to announce our schedule, and then they don't even tell you where the last one is.
Oh, yeah. No, yeah. They don't tell you the date. They just say October.
Yeah. They're still trying to figure it out. I mean, release a schedule when you have it.
Very, very, very odd.
It's definitely different. It doesn't follow the norm of like your Bass and MLF kind of spring heavy. Heavy.
Not at all.
Yeah, I mean, what do you got? You got like one spring event, then a couple summer events in
January through February at Logan Martin, then straight to May. So
wow,
March and April ain't even on the schedule. Straight to May to South Carolina to Lake Hartwell, July Pickwick, August Saginaw Bay, September. September's at St. John's River.
That's a weird time to go to St. John's.
Probably a tough time, but I don't know.
Interesting.
It is interesting, but room around the streets are gonna have a full field, so with some big names in it.
Yeah, I've heard that there's quite a few elites that are fishing it, which may be part of the scheduling.
Probably.
But we might need to do an episode on that too. Have Mr. Fuller back in here to talk about. They were kind of close to not fishing, but anyway, I think we could have them on. So anyway, the point is there's a lot going on in the industry right now. There's a lot to talk about. We're kind of all over the place, but we wanted to focus on a positive.
Yes.
And that is one of the best tournaments you can fish in bass fishing.
Yep.
Total Series Championship.
So I think we give Travis a call.
I think we get him on and let him share his thoughts. Listen to him talk. Harriman. Wyatt has terrible penmanship, by the way.
We typed
Looks
in
like
college.
Holloman.
We typed everything in the college days, back in the day.
That's right. You probably didn't have to do cursive. When I was a kid, we had to learn cursive.
Yeah, they tried to push that on us.
Hello?
The man, Mr. Travis.
T-Money. Can I call you T-Money?
Hey, whatever you want to call me.
No.
He is. He is T-Money. Like, he made some freaking cheddar this year.
Yeah. So I've heard.
Yeah. So,
appreciate you coming on, man.
Yeah, big time. And we kind of talked a little bit before you got on, a little bit about yourself. Nothing crazy. Didn't dive in nothing crazy. We figured we'd save a lot of that for you. But I guess we can start by letting him tell us a little bit about himself. And
yeah, tell us how you kind of got to where you are. I mean, so this was your rookie. Well, I guess was this your rookie season?
Rookie
season. Invitationals.
Yep.
You didn't fish pro circuit or anything before. So tell us kind of how your road to the pro level.
So I guess it goes back. Fished a little high school, fished college at the University of Arkansas, and then after graduating, fished the Costas a couple years, Actually had a decent tournament down there on Rayburn where you guys are closer to, and I'm thinking, oh man, I can do this. This is easy. And I went come back closer to home to Grand Lake, and in 2 days I never caught a bass there, and so kind of got the highs and the lows of it. But I continued to fish the Toyotas. I fished 1 year of the Open, just fishing that AAA stuff whatever schedule fit me best. And then last year had a really successful year. Started off 4th place at Lake of the Ozarks in March, and kind of rode that momentum wave and finished 9th. And with them inviting a few more anglers, I was on the list of people to get invited. So when they called me, I wasn't expecting the call, and I was like, man, should I do it? Going back and forth on it. And what it ultimately came down to me, signing up for them and doing that was, I told myself, I'm like, man, if my younger self knew that I had this opportunity and passed it up, I would never be able to live with myself. So
that's a good way to look at it.
That's what it came down to me, and just went out there and saw what we could do, and fell flat on my face at Okeechobee, and then had a pretty good tournament at Clarks Hill, and came just I think 10 ounces shy of pulling off a pretty big comeback that last day. But that's been my path this year.
Yeah.
So when you signed up for the Toyotas and Opens and whatnot, was that something a goal of yours was to fish at the top of the sport?
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, growing up, my dad, he got me into it at an early age. He's a tournament fisherman himself, and so we were all the time. I mean, going fishing. We were fishing night tournaments, 7 p.m. to 7 a.m. I was probably 10 or 11 years old going with him. Now, I didn't fish the whole time, but, I was out there and got bit by that tournament bug at an early age, and grown up watching, they with the SLW Tour always coming here to Beaver Lake, that was constantly kept up with that tournament, and would go to the weigh-ins and stuff like that. And, I got hooked at an early age, wanting to make that a career. So
yeah, absolutely, man. Yeah. You were a guy that I talked to you a few weeks ago about coming on the show, and I mentioned to Shane that you'd be a great guy to come on, just because, especially for this episode, because of all the stuff we're going to talk about here. But the Invitationals, me and you both fished them this year, and I think we both got to experience that highs and lows of it, and really, really, I think you see that a lot from rookies, thankfully there was some highs, along with the lows, because I think you see that when you're not like seasoned, on the road like that, and, for you, you were able to not only do that this year, have a pretty decent season on the Invitationals, but you're able to take a win right here towards the end of the season on Ozarks, which I'm assuming that would be what you would consider a home lake as well, right?
Yeah, I mean, I would say my 2 home lakes are Beaver and Table Rock.
Okay. Gotcha.
But Lake of the Ozarks, I mean, it's just, I think it's a 2.5, 3 hour drive. So it's not like it's
like your backyard.
It's not like it's a real long.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, and I'm fortunate living in this area that, I mean, you've got here Grand Lake, Beaver Lake, Table Rock, Bull Shoals. You go south a little bit, you got Dardanelle and Arkansas River and all that stuff. So
right.
Yeah, I was very fortunate in that one. And last year I was up at Lake of the Ozarks whenever they announced the Toyota Series schedule, and I was like, man, championship on Table Rock, like I have got to make that. And yet again, Grand Lake in March in the Toyota Series, caught 1 keeper bass over 2 days. So kind of put myself behind the 8 ball on that. And then, I mean, you could go back to the regional I fished at Grand in the fall last year in October. I got 4th in it, and I broke 2 big ones off on the last day, and I ended up losing that one by 1 pound and 2 ounces, which would automatically qualify for Table Rock. But I still qualified for the All-American, and they take the highest boater of each regional, and I missed that by 2 pounds. I finished, I think, 15th, and Jeremy Lawyer, he finished 11th or 12th, I think, and beat me by like 2 pounds. and I had two fish that I had like a 0.91, I think, on the scale it said, and like a 1.02 that I just never could get rid of that last day. And so I'm sitting here thinking, man, I want this tournament so stinking bad, because this is one. I mean, I've spent more time on Table Rock in the past 5 years than I have in on any lake. Mm-hmm. And so I'm like, man, I just got to get there. And then was fortunate enough there at Lake the Ozarks to pull off the win in dramatic fashion.
Yeah, so winning you're in, huh? In the championship?
Yep.
Wow.
Yes, sir. Yep.
So without that win, you would not have been in the top 25 in points and been able to go?
Well, I think I would have made it in the wild card points.
I got you. Oh, okay, so you fished 5 of them?
Do the math. Yeah, I fished 4. So I jumped in Dardanelle and even that tournament, start off the first day, have like 15 pounds in the top 10. I'm like, all right, perfect. Here we go. Yeah. And then second day, bring in 3 fish to the scales. And then.
That's what's really cool about this tournament, the Toyota Series Championship, is that like there's so many ways to qualify that I didn't even know. So you can, so they take the top boater from each region in the All-American to the Toyota Series Championship?
Well, yeah, they take top boater, I think, from the regional, and then at the All-American, they take the top boater from that region as well. There's so many different avenues to get there. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's a big carrot. I mean, that's definitely something you want to fish. I mean, to be fair, I've never even fished one because I never fished a full series of Toyota Series. I mean, it's just never lined up for me schedule-wise, but Wyatt's kind of been more the MLF-er. I'm more of the bass guy, but I've never fished it, but I kind of feel dumb for never trying to qualify. But man, that's exciting that you got in. So you got in, and now and to go into it with the momentum of a win on, that's pretty huge.
Yeah, that's something that's I'd say pretty underrated in fishing, is like how much momentum truly does play.
Oh yeah, confidence is king.
And we talked about that with Gleason. Momentum both ways.
Yeah, momentum can go either way for you.
Absolutely, yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, when the fish are, they're flopping off and they bounce out of the boat instead of bounce in the boat. I mean, it's hard to right that ship when it's going the other way, for sure.
Yeah, 100%. 100%. We all know that feeling. If you do it long enough, you're going to know both sides of the spectrum there. Hopefully you get to feel that positive momentum. But, man, I kind of noticed, obviously meeting you this year on the Invitationals, I kind of knew where you were from and stuff, but I noticed that MLF reached out to you for the article to preview the Toyota Series Championship. So I just thought, among other things today on the show, we could talk about that and how big of it, like we've already kind of alluded to, how big of a deal the championship is. But talk about Table Rock itself. I've been there before. I think I've talked to you about this before. But I've been there before about the same time of the year for a BFL regional, and it was freaking miserable. Like, it was cold, raining, windy, thunderstorms, lightning. I remember having to sit under docks for lightning storms. And it was just, and of course, at that time it wasn't that long ago, but I was a little bit younger, a little bit more naive, and I'd kind of seen some things that went on that played. And I know you'll be able to talk more about it, but I've learned a lot about that event. I got my teeth kicked in. I learned a lot about that event, though, to see how diverse this place is. Like, this isn't going to be like we talked about before about Okeechobee and Sandy Cooper, where people are all on top of each other. Like, this is going to be really spread out. You're going to see a bunch of guys do a bunch of different things and make things work, especially I know me and you, we'll talk about this a little bit too. These crazy conditions we're going to have right before the event, which is just perfect, right? You gotta have this for $200,000 on the line. You gotta have the cold fronts blowing in. You gotta have the post frontal conditions. So here we are, and what is your thoughts on it so far?
Yeah, I mean, I 100% like what you're saying. I'd say I would put Table Rock up there as one of the best, like, non-grass lakes. And it's going to spread out so far. And this weather that's coming in, I think it'll open some doors. I mean, I'm sure it's going to close other doors, but I think this cold front, and depending on how much it rains, it'll change some conditions on the lake. And I've seen it. I mean, I've been up there like you're talking about right before a tournament, and big giant storm rolls through, and you're like, man, I just hope I make it through this storm, hiding out in the boat dock and all that. And sometimes it makes these northern fish, the cold front, sometimes it absolutely turns them on, and you can't fish fast enough, it seems like at times. And then other times the big cold front will roll through and it'll knock them in the head, and they'll just, you can put a bait right on them and they won't bite for anything. So
yeah. Another thing about that event, man, is that was some of the lowest weights I've ever been a part of in a tournament. 11 pounds a day was good. Like catching because of the 15-inch minimum. There was guys in the top 5 that didn't even average 12.
Is that 15 for all species?
Yes.
Yep. Yeah.
Okay.
I think that's why it was. I never caught a limit each day I was there.
Yeah.
I actually felt, which I hope I learned from this going in, I felt pretty decent about a little, like something offshore I had going on. And me being young and naive, I didn't know any better. I figured the cold water would
help them.
Help that. The offshore, it hurt it. And I got my teeth kicked in by some guys up there. So I think hopefully I've learned from that, and I'm not going to, which I don't want to give away too much stuff about anybody's game plan,
No, we're trying to get him to give away stuff.
Don't look into the first few days of practice as much as like the rest of the event, because it's not.
So you already gave away too much.
Yeah, I think they'll. It'll be easy to get on a bite in practice, and then because conditions are going to change, fish are going to change.
Yeah,
it's all up to us as anglers making that adjustment with those fish. And, there'll be some people who absolutely win practice and then are complaining in the weigh-in line that this tournament wasn't 3 days before.
Oh yeah.
So do you think the weights? What do you expect weight-wise? You expect Table Rock to show out a little bit, or you think it just super unpredictable?
So it's been getting a lot of pressure. I took 15 a day. It was 30, just over 30 pounds last weekend to win a big team championship, and I think it was similar to that. And they had like a champion and a Charger owners tournament up there that had similar weights. But I think this cold front will help things a little bit. And I'd say 16 to 17. It'll be hard to break 50 pounds, I think.
Yeah. Gotcha. So high 40s is your guess to win.
Yeah. I'd say somewhere around there, 40. I'd say like 49, like 4 or something like that would be if I had to put an absolute number on it.
Right. And this is a 3-day event?
Yes.
And how many fish the final day?
How many are fish the final day this year, Travis? Is it 25 or 10?
Yeah, it's 25 this year.
This is the first year they're doing that then.
Used to be 10.
It's always been 10. So
always, yeah.
So then you might see, because the fall fishing, especially on a place like Table Rock, but really, it is, even here at home at Rayburn right now, it's so inconsistent. You're going to see some guys make some big jumps and some big falls. Like, it's going to happen.
Absolutely. Yeah. There'll be a guy that, comes in, 20th or whatever, and he may say, I'm going to go stick to the big guns today, and has one of those crazy days. And,
yeah. You kind of know about that. You did it at the last day at Clark's Hill. Almost came back and.
I was going to say, I know all about that. Trying to run people down and.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's
at least make them sweat it out on the last day. But they'll definitely be having a bigger field fish that last day. There'll be more opportunity for something like that, and I expect the weights to be very close.
Do you expect? Do you kind of expect like it? There's. The Toyota Series Championship is so cool because guys come from everywhere. We've got national guys that represented, right? Like guys from Italy and Mexico, and they're all flying their national flags. They're coming to a place like Table Rock. They're like, man, I've never seen anything like this. Do you think it's a place where guys are going to be able to make all kinds of stuff work? Like it's not going to be predominantly forward-facing sonar dominated, or is all things going to play in this one?
Yeah, I think a lot of people will be able to fish their strength, whether that's power fishing with a crankbait, a spinnerbait, or whatever. If you've got your draggers that love dragging a Carolina rig or a jig, and then obviously the finesse and forward-facing sonar is going to play. So I think absolutely that a lot of people will be able to like fish their strength and stick to it.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously there'll be, you know, some of the predominant patterns that are, you know, better than others, but yeah, absolutely. I think you'll be able to, if this is what you're good with and you're like, man, I'm a good shallow fisherman. I don't want to try and figure this deal out for a guy, you know, coming over here for the first time.
Mm-hmm.
You know, the forward facing sonar can be a very difficult task to, you know, crack the code on for the first time.
Yeah.
And so trying to do that in, you know, I mean, it's 4 days of practice, which you're like, man, that's a lot of time. But then you get up there and the days are getting shorter and,
Mm-hmm.
you know, and you're like, at the end of 4 days, you're like, man, where did it all go?
And Table Rock's massive.
Yeah.
Like, it's not small. Like, especially taking off of where we're taking off of down there at the state park, you can make long runs. I mean,
yeah,
long runs.
You can figure out how much gas your boat holds and burn all of it up in a real short amount of time if you decide to go that route. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you could run way up the James there from where we're putting in at, and that's a long way up the Kings River, way up the White River.
Mm-hmm.
You can run up Long Creek. I mean, yeah, there's it, and I think that it will spread people out. Yes, there'll be areas that, you know, we'll have a congregation of shad and bass around there, and you'll kind of have some people, you know, in tighter quarters on those kind of areas. But I think if you don't like fishing in a crowd, this is not a tournament where you're like, it's not like an Okeechobee, you know, where it's like, if I'm not around people, I'm not around fish. There are fish every inch of this lake.
Yeah.
I mean, from the dam up all of the rivers.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what, you know, kind of the local knowledge, it kind of scares you a little bit because you're like, man, I may have this creek rode off because I say, man, they don't get there this time of year. And someone that's not familiar with the lake is like, oh, this creek looks good on the map. Let's just go in there.
Yeah.
And they find them in there, and, you know, the local guys have, you know, written that place off. It truly could, like, anywhere on that lake could fire, and you could have a school of bass that, you know, shows up on a school of shad and just changes everything.
Yeah.
Sounds like it's going to be a fun tournament.
Sounds like it's going to be an interesting tournament. Kind of wide open.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. I would definitely say that it'll be wide open. There'll be fish caught, I think, from 0 to 70-something feet of water.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
That's deep.
That's deep.
We don't fish that deep here.
Yeah. Right. I took a guy last year up there. It was the day after Thanksgiving, and I was talking to him, and I was like, you know, what's the deepest you ever caught a bass? And he said, he said, the boat was in 50, but I was dragging a jig, probably 30 feet of water, you know. And we went up there and we were catching them 75 feet deep that day.
On bottom.
They were 80 foot of water. They were like 5 foot off the bottom. You'd let your bait get all the way to the bottom, reel it up a couple cranks, and go to work in it, and that's where they were at.
Wow.
And he caught that first one. He's just standing there holding it. And I was like, everything all good? And he's like, yeah. And I said, the lake got a whole lot bigger, didn't it? And he was like, yeah, it did. And, you know, when you look at a place and you're like, oh, everything 30 feet and deeper, I don't have to worry about.
Oh, yeah.
And then you go, well, everything 70 feet and deeper, I don't have to worry about. That opens up a lot.
Whole new lake.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, it's that kind of depth is outside of my comfort zone for sure.
Yeah.
I mean,
yeah, for sure.
We're definitely not used to it. Well, I'll be at home watching you guys freeze your tails off or whatever happens in the weather. I'll be back here at Rayburn because I'm a dummy and I don't fish Toyota Series to qualify. So, but no, I wish you guys both the best of luck. But I kind of wanted to transition you over to the invitational side. I kind of wanted to back up when you qualified. So when you qualified, were you like Wyatt? Were under the impression you qualified for what was the pro circuit, or by the time they called you knew it was invitationals? Because wasn't that last year when you qualified, Wyatt, and you thought it was pro circuit, and then it became invitational?
It was the pro circuit for a while. Because I mean, our division wraps up in May, so I was in the top 5 in May, and you got your invite.
Yeah.
You know,
so did you know? Were you under the impression you were going to fish what was formerly known as the pro circuit, or did you already know it was the invitationals?
So the day before the last Toyota Series, I fished in the Plains, which is like always one of the last ones to wrap up in the year. And the day before our tournament started is when they made the announcement that they were making these changes. So, there was that morning at takeoff. There was a bunch of people that not too happy about things, and you'd have I remember Greg Bohannon and Andy Newcomb. They're sitting there a boat beside me talking, and I'm eavesdropping because I'm like, well, I'm in fifth place going into this tournament. Like, they very well could be talking about what I'm going to have to deal with and all that stuff. So
what was your initial thoughts of the changes?
I mean, it's always, obviously it's bad because they take the championship away. They, go from, I don't know. I've always wanted to, the 4-day tournament. That's always been what I've watched and what I, you're like, oh, making day 4, that's the end goal. That's the dream kind of thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Cause, day 4 is, top 10 guys. It's like the guys that have worked the hardest, figured it out, survived.
Get some guaranteed camera time.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. And so, yeah, it was, I mean, of course, at that time, not knowing that I was going to get the invite and all that, I'm like, man, kind of really don't know what to think because having not been part of it yet and all that stuff.
Yeah, you were still probably focusing on the task at hand, and that was having a good tournament.
Well, yeah, and that's what made it even more difficult. Is I'm like, man, here I am. I'm on the verge of accomplishing this lifelong dream, and like, did they just pull the rug out from underneath me? Yeah. Like, what does all this mean for my future? And so.
Yeah, no, I definitely felt for you guys. I know when Wyatt, had that great season in the Toyota Series and he was qualifying, we had talked about it. Like he said, they were wrapped up in May. So, like, man, you're going to the Pro Circuit next year. That's super cool. And then it wasn't even me, and I kind of felt for all you guys. Like, man, that's just another MLF bombshell.
Yeah, well, really,
change.
To me, looking at it more from the financial side, that's where I was upset. I was like, dude, they just pulled a boatload of money out of this. I mean, a lot.
Right.
Yeah.
A lot, dude.
So did you ever consider, so once you got your invite, were you looking at options, or was it an immediate like, yep, I'm going, or was it like, maybe I need to switch gears and go do this EQ thing with the Bassmasters?
So in the position that I was in, the EQs, it was just too much of I was like, man, that's like, you'd have to quit your job and hope to get a job, it's like, and at the stage of my career, I say being younger, but now I'm, 30 years old, and you got these young guys that are like 20 years old out here competing against us. But like in the early stage of my career, and I feel like that's one of the things that MLF and FLW has always maybe been better at, is like, I think they've been better at initially establishing anglers. And then I think, Bassmaster helps grow your individual brand, so to say.
Yeah.
But I definitely weighed those options. But it came down to me, like, just how many 9 tournaments, traveling that much more. And I mean, I'm very fortunate that I had the year that I did on the Invitationals, and looking back on it, I don't regret the decision that I made to fish those instead of the Opens. So
yeah,
I'm fortunate in that regard, I'd say.
Yeah. I feel the same way, 100%. But now that we've got new changes coming out, not necessarily to the Invitationals. Well, there is a change. I mean, they're only taking 5 now, so that's a pretty substantial change. Still no championship. And now here we are in, like, we don't even know what's going on. Like, now the BPT is getting cut. We're not sure how it's all working. We see our guys that we fished against this year that just made it, and they're in a really tough situation. They're getting thrown into the fire in a whole new format that they've never even experienced. And pretty much if they don't bang, like, if they don't, like, it ain't even just do good. Like, if they don't do great, then they're gone. And does it, because I'll be honest, me looking forward in the decision, like, I'm extremely I was already hesitant, okay, just being honest, to go to the Invitationals. But now it's like, I don't even know if I want my eggs in that basket, because I don't know what's going to happen as far as longevity, future, my investment into this company with my brand. Like, am I sure I want to do this? I think a ton of guys are hesitant now because of everything that's going on and all the uncertainty that's going on. Do you view, like, next year, are you planning on fishing the invitationals?
Yeah, right now my plan is to continue fishing those.
Okay.
I feel like right now it's still a good enough platform for me, and to be able to grow my brand and my, outreach and that kind of stuff.
Correct. So I was going to ask you, going off of that, do you feel like the invitationals are still okay to fish just for the invitationals? Or do you feel like, as far as longevity and goals, like the end goal to be at the top level of the organization, is that changed? Like, because that's where to be honest, that's where my thought process has gone. I mean, me and Shane talked about this in previous other episodes, and a lot of other episodes, about how stressful and stuff it's been this season, like trying to make those decisions on what the heck we're gonna do. Shane fished all 9 opens this year and had a good season, and I fished the invitationals, and the only thing I promised myself going into it was that I would give it a year, and the only way I would do it is if I had the backing, first off. Second of all, if I would give it a year, and I would reevaluate, and I would be honest with myself about where I feel the organization is at, and how, and if it was going to be okay for my future. And so I think my view has changed. Now, I don't know, like, this is just my opinion. I don't know about you, but my view has changed now towards, like, because I got a couple of buddies and stuff that qualified for the invitationals this year, and they're going to go next year. And I'm like, hey, I just know going in, these are some things to expect. And just me personally, like, as far as just the invitationals go, if that's what you want to fish, I don't think it's necessarily a bad deal. If that's all you're like, if you're not trying to fish the invitationals to go to the next, because with the whole debacle and everything going on right now. Is that how you feel about it? Or you just, are you fishing the invitationals for the invitationals? Do you think that's still okay for what it is as of right now?
I think that's an interesting perspective, and that's definitely one that you got to consider. I think the invitationals, like, if you're fishing them as the invitationals, are still a viable option. But yeah, it does. It makes it harder for guys like us who, end goals, dream goals, is the top of the food chain. They made it that much more difficult for us to get there. And I'm not saying that, just because you have this dream, you should be given this red carpet,
right?
Chance to go fish the top and see where you stack up. I think there should be, qualification levels and stuff to it. It's unfortunate that it seems like, I took one step forward, and then they turn the treadmill on and I'm 2 steps behind now. It seems, it's unfortunate that every time the news comes out, breaking MLF news,
it's not
never
positive. Yeah.
It's never, hey, look at this new thing we're going to add to this tour,
That is, it's a deflating thing for me, man. It's so deflating. It's
well, it sounds like
when your buddy says, hey, do you see that? You see what MLF just released? And you're like, your heart drops. And you're like,
you want to go look. You're like, God,
what the hell did he do now?
Floyd.
I'm sure you guys, I'm sure you've got the same message, right? Like when your buddy says, hey man, did you see what MLF just said? And you're like, man, what this time?
Yeah. And man, I just, it's so tough on me. It really is.
You do remember I tried to convince you not to do it.
Yeah, Shane was calling me from the freaking opens all. You're like, hey, bro, just let you know. Mate, you fall and they're loaded up offshore eating a crankbait while you're up there at Clark's Hill not catching shit. So I hope you're having fun up there.
Look, I have a totally different perspective than you guys. I mean, props to what you guys did, your accomplishments. I'm not taking anything away from that. What you guys did to qualify for that level of sport is super impressive. For me, it was pretty plain and simple. The writing was on the wall, the changes every year. And when Wyatt qualified, I was like, man, I wouldn't go. I was like, I think you need to come to the opens. Let's travel together.
Yeah, but you can't. You can't talk. Hey,
couldn't talk him out of it.
You can't
man.
talk a young buck out of it.
No, but I mean,
know.
and I appreciate your positive attitude on
Absolutely.
it, and like that you feel that it's it's the best place for you to grow your brand right now, and I think it is still a viable option to grow yourself as a fisherman. I mean, because you know how it is, it's so competitive. It's more competitive than it's ever been, and sponsor dollars are spread so thin, and if you can make that work while that platform is still available to you, I mean, props to that.
Yeah, I agree with that.
But you're right. You shouldn't be guaranteed an easy route to the top of the sport. I mean, it should never be easy.
No,
and it's not.
No. It just seems like on the MLF side, they for years had made it. It was kind of it seemed like a buddy kind of deal. It's like if you're in the the famous fisherman, if you're in the community, you're in the community. But if you're not in the community, it's hard to get there. Now, yes, there are some guys that do it and break through, but it just seemed like they were, when they started it, they took who they wanted to take, not based on finishes, none of that stuff, and then found a way to, as it, got time to move those guys out, they would change, rules or whatever.
That Watson episode, he brings up an interesting stat that it wasn't until 2022 when they actually finally started dropping dudes out of the BPT, and swapping dudes in.
Well, the way they formed the league,
though it'd been in existence for 3 years.
Well, the way they formed the league, there was no qualifications.
It
was just invite. So
no, it's man, I feel for you guys, but like I said, I think it's refreshing to hear somebody like you have a positive outlook on it and say, look, I'm going to give it another shot. I'm going to ride this another year or two or however long. This is a platform. It is still a platform that is seriously looked at by sponsors and should be taken seriously. So
yeah. I mean, I was fortunate enough to get 3 of the 6 tournaments. I had a live camera in my boat for at least a day of. So it's like, man, that's something I feel like, and how many people texted me and called me like, dude, that was so cool. I was sitting at work watching you fish on TV, like, all that stuff. And that's something that, I felt as far as like growing my brand and like getting my name out there, that was a better option at the time than the Opens. But, as things change, so do, opinions on that sort of stuff. So, and I'm sure there'll be a lot of, more influx of people from the Invitationals to the Opens or even to the NPFL.
Oh yeah.
I
mean,
what do you think of that schedule?
A lot of, they look pretty good.
Yeah.
It wasn't too bad, I thought.
Yeah. The NPFL.
Yeah.
No. Well, rumor is they're gonna have a full field. So they went from struggling to get 80 full field to 130 field.
Yeah, we had Brad Fuller on last year, and he said we're not even sure we're gonna have a season because we need 75 guys at a minimum.
Yeah.
And
I think that's your telltale sign.
And now they're almost doubling that.
Yeah.
But I mean, they're staying consistent. They're not changing things up on people. So it's like, that obviously has got that attractiveness right there in the fact that, like, okay, I know what I'm signing up for this year, and it should be the same thing next year.
Well, they have a championship.
If anything, they increase the payout.
That's the big thing. Yeah,
they have a championship.
They've got a carrot at the end of the stick.
Yeah.
The Opens have the Classic, and they have the Elite Series.
Yep.
You mess around and you win an Open, you fish the Classic, which every one of us that has watched any Bassmaster TV show has wanted to do that.
Yeah,
everybody watches the Classic.
Yeah.
It's
the dance.
So you've got, that's obviously the biggest carrot on that side, and then you've got, if you fish all 9 and do well enough, you've got the Elite Series berth, which is also everybody dreams of.
Yep.
And then NPFL, they've got the championship at the end of the season for them to look forward to.
Yeah.
But it's kind of like, on the Invitationals, like, what's the carrot at the end of that stick? There is none. I mean, you finish 9th, which you got to feel for, did they take 8 or 9 this year?
They took 8.
8. So you, like, Drew Gill, he finished 9th and had an outstanding season. And it's,
and
what what's in it for them kind of deal.
Yeah, and
I thought they were supposed to take 10.
No, they took 8. They said they were going to take 8. And they also said they weren't going to call down the list.
Yeah, so that's what's different with the Open. So in the Invitationals, let's say somebody double qualifies, right?
Yeah, they told
they call down the BPT list. They don't call down the Invitational list, right?
Yeah,
which
they told us that.
Goes back to what I'm saying. Like, it's harder for those guys to
they're protecting the BPT guys more than
Well, now it seems so more than ever, right?
Yeah.
Like, dude, Travis knows, like, these guys that fish the Invitationals, like, they're freaking legit. Like, they're so good. Like, it was everywhere we went this year, the cut weight was far higher than any of those lakes we're fishing. They were not fishing that good.
Yeah.
We just the guys are so good they made those. Yes, they caught the hell out of them. And
every time you go to a meeting, like, man, what do you think it's going to take? And every time I was like, man, I'm fishing with a bunch of liars, because they say at Okeechobee, everybody's like, man, 10 or 11 pounds is going to do really good. You're going to get in the top 50 with that.
Yeah.
You
needed 30.
After that first day, I'm like, I ain't believing another one of you jokers.
You needed 30 pounds just to get in the 50 cut.
That's crazy.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I'm like,
But, same thing with the Potomac. I mean, Jesus Christ, I think you needed like 28 there. Kidding. Like, I mean, come on, that place was fishing hard. So it's just one of them deals, man. I
don't like that though. I'm back to if they tell you, like the Opens, they say we're taking 9.
Yeah,
they're calling down lists. Like Kenta double qualified this year. Yeah, and they went to the 10th spot.
Yes, they did.
They tell you they're taking 9 guys. Right? Kyle Patrick was last.
Okay, Kyle Patrick. Gotcha.
Yeah. But they sell you this. Because we're customers, right? This is what you're buying. This is the package you're buying. And for them to change it, I mean, and not do it that way, I don't know. Not that they changed it on the MLS side, but it just
changed it. All right, now they're only taking 5.
Go back. I know now they changed it. But are they going to take 5? So somebody double qualifies, they're going to take 5?
No, they're going to take 4.
That's ridiculous.
If Michael Neal,
I hate it even more.
If Michael Neal comes down and wins another Angler of the Year, like, he probably has the capability to do it.
Dakota could do it because that little sucker loves to fish so much he's going to fish all of them.
That's what I'm saying. Like,
he's going to double qualify because he's killing it.
I went back and looked, and I think it was I'm forgetting his name. Martin Villa, I think, was finished 5th overall, and his average was like top 30, bro.
Mm.
Like, you're gonna have to average like next year, like probably a top 25 or top 30.
Yeah,
that's insane. But
I mean, so this year they took I guess it'd have been like the top 7% or whatever, and then you knock it down, you're taking the top 4% of everybody.
It's nutty, dude. Yeah. Like, there's a difference in like earning your spot and making it damn near impossible to earn your spot.
I mean, I guess if you break down percentage wise, the Opens is the top 5%.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah,
but you sign up for that right out of the gate because we're dummies.
Yeah,
I said this last episode. We're so stupid. Fishermen are stupid.
By the time you get down to qualification time in the Opens, most of your field are gone.
Yeah, I mean, at the end, how many?
Yes, it's true.
Both were at Lake of the Ozarks.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
No, I bet we had 70 Fish Harris chain. There was hardly any of the guys. I mean, that's pretty typical though.
Yeah.
Yeah. You get to a point, and it, like what you're saying, at that point, there's no carrot at the end of the stick. You're like, what am I?
Yeah, you win one. That's it. But
yeah.
Well,
it's a crazy world out there.
Fishing world is.
It is. It's crazy. I mean, like, years and years ago when I was going to the FLW Tour weigh-ins, winner gets $100,000.
Mm-hmm.
And here we are years and years later, winner gets $100,000.
Well, $80,000 for an invitational, actually.
Yeah, for us. Yeah.
Yeah. Yep.
But, I mean, it's, the winnings have stayed the same, and the entry fees and cost of doing business as an angler has went up exponentially.
Yeah. They haven't adjusted for inflation.
This is all I know. This is what I do know for sure, that MLF is not done. Like, they are not done changing. They will continue, and I just don't know if I want to be on that roller coaster anymore. Yeah. That's a decision that I think each angler has to make for himself.
Yeah, I'm gonna sit on the sidelines and watch. Like, I don't even think I'm gonna fish Toyotas.
You can have your popcorn.
Even though I said I'm stupid for not trying to qualify for the Toyota Series Championship, I don't even think I'm gonna fish Toyotas.
Oh, they'll eventually jack with the Toyotas. The best freaking thing they got going. They'll jack with it.
They'll mess that up for sure.
Yeah. You know that it's coming down the road. Is it next year? Is it the year after? You know, it's kind of
holding on for dear life.
Yeah. Because you know, and I don't know. It seems like some of these organizations, you know, they're like hurting for money, and they're like, how can we get more money? Oh, well, we'll just get it from the anglers. They're going to continue paying these entry fees.
Yeah. They don't care. They just want to fish.
That's the easy answer.
Well, if he don't pay it, guess what? He'll pay it. And if he don't pay it, I'll just call down this list and he'll pay it.
That's what Scotty Vlines and I, we were talking about that the other day.
Yeah.
And he said, you know, if you could stand as a united front, you might be able to make a difference. But I said, you know, the problem is, I said, if we don't accept it, they're going to go down the list, and the next guy, he doesn't accept it, they're going to go down the list. You know,
Scotty,
there's going to be people that, you know, someone is going to say yes. They're going to get 150 yes.
Absolutely.
Scotty texted me about it the other day, and he was just talking about, I might be.
Hey, look,
I'll be out this year.
let's do it. Let's go. Let's get your signs and let's go on strike in front of Floyd's office.
Get the picket fences. Yep.
Unfortunately, I think the reality is it's not going to take anybody at the Invitationals level, and it's actually not even going to take probably this angler committee that the BPT formed. I don't even think it'll take the majority of them. It's going to take the top names of the BPT who are in the best position to potentially give up what they have and stand for people well below them. So odds of that happening are probably not, but you're going to have to see your Wheelers and your Jordan Lees and your Edwin Evers put their foot down for the guys below them, but that means potentially giving up their seat on the
not going to happen.
So
not going to happen. Too many individual egos there.
Yeah. That's just, I think that at the end of
the
day.
I don't mean like they're egotistical, but I just mean they're individuals.
I think at the end of the day, though, that's the truth. That's the harsh reality. So
it's interesting to see what's going to happen. But, boys, I wish you all the best of luck at Table Rock. Enjoy yourselves.
Freezing.
Yeah.
Try not to die of hypothermia.
See, I'm all for the crazy weather tournaments, because then you got those. You know, some of my buddies around here, I love fishing in the wintertime. They're like, man, I don't want to go out there.
Yeah.
I'm like, you pay your money and you've already got, you know, half the field beat or whatever.
Yeah.
Because they're worried about the weather and their fingers getting cold, this and that. And I'm like,
I
think it's gonna make everything better. I think it's gonna change it for the better.
It should get them, because it's been warm up here. Last weekend I fished on Beaver Lake, and it was 80 degrees, something like that.
Yeah. I came in pre-practice
out there in October, so yeah.
I came in pre-practice Table Rock before my shift actuator decided to go out. Thank you, Mercury. So I was out there and I got to see the water temps and see where they were, and I'm like, well, this isn't what I expected. But cool.
Yeah, I think it was like in the low 70s last week when I was up there. So
high 60s, low 70s by the end of the day. Yeah. So
it's still not where it needs to be at yet, but these cooler nights, and I mean, it's gonna be some interesting weather we got for practice in the tournament, but it ought to make things better.
Well, looking forward to watching it all go down, man. We'll turn you loose. We appreciate you coming on. We'll be watching you on the Invitationals as well. Curious how that all shakes out. We're obviously fans of sports. We're going to watch either way, whether we mind about it or not.
We'll sit here and complain about it, but at the end of the day, you know,
here's our money.
I'm sitting here waiting to fish it and waiting to watch the TV shows. I mean, that was the cool thing about fishing the Invitations this year and fishing a circuit that's got the Open did the live on the last day, but you know, you're driving away from the lake going, man, how'd those guys catch them?
Yeah.
And you're like, well, let me just look right here. And you go, oh,
yeah,
that's what they're doing.
Yeah, that was pretty cool now that you mentioned it. I remember the biggest eye opener for me was Clark's Hill, and I was like, these golly, why didn't I just go up there and look? That's it, man. Well, we appreciate your time, and I'll see you up at Table Rock, and best of luck to you.
Yeah, best of luck in the future, man.
Thank you guys. We'll see you soon.
All right, take care.
All right, bye.
There he was.
How long was that?
The winner of the future winner. Too early to call it.
The future winner.
He's a favorite.
Yeah, I think
win,
there's
I'll
a
tell you
couple favorites. Yeah, he mentioned Lawyer getting in. I didn't know Jeremy Lawyer got in. So, yeah, he'll probably be a favorite. Cody Huff, him, several of them.
No doubt, no doubt.
So, yeah, man, I know the last episode with Gleason I kind of talked about. I didn't know what the heck I was going to do yet, but
sounds like I think
had some interesting thoughts.
I feel like we should do a episode.
I just had some interesting conversation with sponsors that really, like,
right.
I didn't realize how they viewed certain things.
I think you should leave that. Let's leave a little excitement.
Yeah.
Let's leave a little excitement because I was thinking about this. I was like, Wyatt and I've been talking about this basically the last 3 or 4 episodes we've been talking about. We don't know what we're gonna do. We don't know what we're gonna do. We don't know what we're gonna do. Sounds like Wyatt's becoming a little more firm on a decision for him.
Yeah.
I, on the other hand, am still not sure, but I do think it'd be an interesting episode. For us anyway. Probably no way to watch it because I really don't care what we fish.
Right.
But I mean,
Oh, here in the next coming weeks, we're gonna know what we're doing whether we like it or not.
Well, the dates they Bass sent out an email yesterday with all the new payouts and stuff. They finally confirmed the dates. So basically, the last entry date, priority entry starts what's today? Starts on the 31st. Starts in 5 days. Priority entry. Then that closes on the 6th, and then the next Bass Life members are in, and then the last possible registration is due by November 16th. So I'm probably next week pulling the trigger on a call, making a decision. And I think we should do an episode on it when you get back from.
Well, yeah, the Invitationals deposit are due November 6th as well.
Yeah. So, and I think it'd be a good time for you to kind of discuss some of what your sponsors have told you that, I think was really, really interesting. I think we should save it
because that's really what matters at the end of the day. People that
build
support you, it's with
100%.
I mean, that's
100%, 100%. But man, a lot going on, and we also want to do another episode with a BPT guy.
Yeah, it was good to get it was good to get an Invitationals angler on.
Sure.
Travis had a pretty good season, and he was just a good guy for everything we want to talk about today.
Yeah.
And then
I enjoyed talking with him.
Hopefully a BPT and have one of those guys on. Hopefully somebody that's
I think we should have an opens guy on.
Somebody that's pretty brutally honest.
Yeah, we got a couple options. I don't think anybody's going to hold back that much. I think BPT guys are becoming more and more vocal.
Yeah, as they should.
Either way, as they should. Yeah, I think as a whole, we anglers tend to shy away from saying anything too controversial. We don't want to upset sponsors. We don't want to upset organizations. But I don't think it should be like that.
Yep.
Anyway, let's cut this one here, and we'll hopefully we'll record. You'll be gone for a week. I'll post this next week, and then when you get back, we'll record one and go from there.
Sounds good.
As always, thanks for watching.
Till next time.